Well, what is happening, my fellow cryptocurrency enthusiasts? I'm your enthusiastic host, Justin, coming at you hot with another exciting cryptocurrency video. Today, we're going to talk all about the digital dollar, all about Brian Brooks, the OCC chair of the U.S. chair for currency. And there was an exciting CNN interview coming out from Julia Chattarly earlier today, and I have to apologize first and foremost. I tried recording this outside in the yard on our picnic table with I had a long extension cord and I had my goat sitting beside me and it was going fantastically until I exported the QuickTime file. The screen recording did not export. It lagged and it said 8 hours remaining, which kind of reminds me of how antiquated the banking system is. I mean, why can't videos export as fast as email? I mean, that's a dumb comparison. But anyways, we're going to get into this video. Before we do though, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Absolutely obliterate that like button. It'll help reach more people with this exciting information. And be sure to subscribe so you can find out when my next videos are coming out. With that being said, let's get right into it, guys. Check this out from Julia Chattarly interviewing Brian Brooks, who used to work for Coinbase. Check it out.
A pretty huge challenge. Our next guest, Brian Brooks, the new head of the US National Bank's regulator, says they all need to innovate to keep up. He's granted a banking license to a fintech company, which has raised a few eyebrows, but he's also opened a new avenue for existing banks, allowing them for the first time to hold cryptocurrencies, digital assets, for safekeeping. It perhaps should come as no surprise, as he's the former chief legal officer of Coinbase Global, the biggest US exchange for cryptocurrencies. Brian Brooks, the acting US comptroller of the currency, joins us now. Brian, fantastic to have you with us. I'm really excited to have you on. You sort of have a 21st century view of what the banking sector should look like. And I said it's raising a few eyebrows. It's raising a few more. Give me a sense of what your vision is.
Well, Julia, thanks so much for having me. And these are really important questions to ask in a time like this. You know, this is a time when Americans are depending on their banking system more than they ever have before. When we made a decision collectively in this country to shut down the economy very broadly back in March, we depended on the banks to deliver benefit payments in the form of paycheck protection program loans and checks sent from the Treasury Department. And the problem is we were sending those across 19th century banking rails. Many people said that it took days or sometimes weeks to receive their payments. And my vision is that we need to get to a place in this country where payments can be transmitted virtually instantaneously, where errors can be eliminated. And it turns out technology exists today that can help us do that. So we need to get there, I think, sooner rather than later.
You've talked about a new payments charter. What does that mean? And what is the technology that we have today that exists that circumvents, to your point, the 19th century rails that the train has been running on so far?
Well, it's really interesting, Julia. If you look at the payments business over the last 30 years, there was a time when all payments happened through the banking system. And in the last 10 or 15 years, with the rise of fintech, largely dominated by a bunch of Silicon Valley firms, it turns out that technologies exist, whether they're based on blockchain or other kinds of networks, that allow payments to go much faster. And as a result of that, what's happened in this country is that millions and millions of daily payments no longer are principally processed by banks. They're run by companies like PayPal and Stripe and Square. The question for the payments charter is, do we think it's a good thing or a bad thing that all of that activity is now happening outside the banking system, where the examiners who work in my agency can look at them and make sure that there's fraud being prevented and make sure consumers are protected? Or do we think it would be better for them to run entirely outside of regulation? I think the best solution, which you see in other parts of the world, including the UK today, is to have faster payments that are innovated by private companies but are supervised by federal watchdogs like us. That I think, is what the future looks like.
I mean, the pushback that you're getting here is from existing banks, whether at the state level or those that are federally regulated. I mean, they have existing businesses, I guess, to protect. The problem is they don't best serve the customer.
Well, that's the thing, Julia. And if you look at what the reason is why so much payments activity has moved outside of the banking system, part of it is because consumers want to receive their services in a different way. I mean, let's face it, there was a time when we all used to buy our clothes in department stores where we could also get our oil changed and have lunch. The world changed on the high street shopping market, right? Now we all go to boutique stores. We buy our computers at Apple, our jeans at the Levi's store, et cetera. Banks are sort of the last bastion of the amalgamated comprehensive supermarket, if you will, of financial services. But that's not the way consumers shop anymore. The other thing that's really important is markets look at these companies very, very differently. So it turns out the return on equity for startup tech companies is far higher than the return on equities for banks, which is what creates strong market incentives for these services to move into specialty platforms and outside of comprehensive banks. All of which means that if we don't rethink what the bank charter is and find a way for the bank charter to be broad enough to encompass services that were historically provided by banks, we're going to have a problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't the end of the video yet, but I want to bring to light an ad from 2008. I believe it was the fall of 2018 when Ripple, the company, released a video talking about this very thing that Brian Brooks has been talking about. And we've laid it out for you for the past few months. I know other channels like the Variable Bull, like Digital Asset Investor, we've all done our best to piece these pieces together, these seemingly I'm going to follow Brian Brooks right now. These seemingly unfamiliar pieces together and try to paint a narrative of what we perceive is going on in the digital asset space. And the problem of the pandemic, there was the reaction, the slow clunky payments, stimulus packages were not sent out quickly. And the solution is coming to you loud and clear. And Ripple, the solution, is coming to you loud and clear. And I believe we're only weeks, maybe a few months away from, the widespread population finding out about the solution, finding out about XRP, finding out about Ripple, the company, and finding out about blockchain technology by the masses. We have companies like Grayscale making ads. And this ad came 2 years ago. I'm not going to play the audio for it because it might be copywritten, but check this out. This is from October 30th, 2018. How it's faster to get on a plane and fly money across borders than it is to send as digital payment. We've been painting this narrative for months and months and months, and now the mainstream media is painting this narrative. I'm just going to play a little bit of this video here. So there's a lady trying to send some money at the bank. She wants to send some money to her friends in the Philippines or wherever she's going. Why is it possible? We got the Tesla car. I know Tesla's going to have a big game, a big slice of the pie in blockchain technology. Yeah, then she flies the money to instantly send a message. I'll zoom ahead a little bit. But with payments, it's sometimes faster to board a plane and fly it there yourself. This is exactly what Brian Brooks has been saying in this interview, everybody. I hope you see it. I hope you can read between the lines and see, knowing if you're an XRP holder, knowing what you hold is so vital for the persistence and the patience it takes to pay off dividends in the long run. We're in a long-term game. I'm not saying, I've had videos saying huge price predictions for XRP in 2020, but I think we'll be lucky if we break, $1, $2, $3. If we approach all-time highs, that'll be really good this year, but I believe the big breakthroughs are going to come next year. But we have to see what happens this fall as well. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening.
Some people will recognize this.
So now she's talking about SWIFT payments. It is all coming together here, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out.
Others won't, but it's the way right now that the system works and the information, the money is passed between banks, and the last thing it is SWIFT. It's clunky, it's slow. Those outside of the industry, particularly in the fintech sector, know there are better options. Brian, is this the plan to improve on the existing infrastructure that SWIFT is at this moment?
Well, Julia, you make a great point that SWIFT is one of the most ironically named organizations in the world. The joke in my world is that if you wanted to move money from America to Australia, the fastest way to do that is to load it in a suitcase and put it on an airplane, which is a little bit crazy in the right? So to me, what has to happen is there are faster solutions, and they exist in other parts of the world. So the UK, Singapore, China, many of our global competitors have adopted real-time payments. In the US, that seems to be still years away unless we allow existing technologies to do the work for us. And I think that's very possible.
Brian, how quickly can you do this? How quickly can you achieve this, given, as we've discussed, there are existing resistant points, and they're pretty powerful in this country?
Well, they are, Julia, but in the world, there's nothing more powerful than markets because markets represent what millions of consumers want every day. And so my job is not to build new payment rails. My job is to identify impediments that make it harder for people to get what they want and need. And at the OCC, we have an ability to do that. So among those include the questions of, should banks be allowed to participate in the cryptocurrency market at all? Should banks be allowed to connect to blockchains? Should we have central bank digital currencies, perhaps issued by private companies, but backed by bank deposits? I can identify what the impediments to that are and try and solve that so people can get what they want as they express through markets. I think that's very possible.
And what do we all want, ladies and gentlemen? We want mainstream adoption of cryptocurrency, and we want XRP, we want other coins, we want Ethereum, we want all of our bags, all of our altcoin bags. Maybe some of you guys are Bitcoin maximalists, maybe you're not even in the space, but we all want to get rich. And if the masses want to get rich, that's what's going to happen. It's going to lead, I mean, it's kind of hilarious, but the regulations will come, the price discovery will come. But this is just a crazy, crazy thing coming out. This is so timely for Brian Brooks, for Julia Chattarly to be sharing this video. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm not going to edit this video too much. I'm just going to post it straight to my channel because you guys have to get this information fast. So I won't have the traditional intro, outro that you are all so used to because it takes a little bit of extra time. And being I had got delayed with some technical difficulties earlier. But I'm going to head back outside, make some dinner for my wife and kids, and hang out with my goat Ivan. So I will see you all in the next one. Take care and God bless.